Hello and welcome to the New Gig Podcast. I'm your host, Glenn Hodgson, and today I'm delighted to be joined by freelancer and author Shea Karssing. How are you doing, Shea?
I'm good, thanks. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you on. Now, let's go back to the start and just say a little bit about your background, your career so far, and some of the decisions and changes that you've made already.
So I've always loved writing. So when it got time to go to university, it felt like a natural fit to study
Yeah.
journalism. So that's what I did. And then after my degree, I ended up traveling and through pure nepotism, got a job at my uncle's marketing agency in Canada. So
Cool.
that's how I dipped my toe into marketing and into copywriting. And then I came back to South Africa and I had some marketing management roles, but I'd always keep writing on the side. So I was a strong side hustler. And one day I got a side hustle gig that was actually paying me more than my full time role. So I thought, well, what am I doing here? And
Yeah.
I ended up turning full time freelance after side hustling for many years. So that was in 2017. And I can honestly say that I've never looked back. I mean, there have been challenges, of course, along the way.
Yeah.
And what I recently did was I took my experiences and I put them into a book, which is called Freelance Like a Boss.
Yep.
And it's basically the book I wish I had when I started freelancing. So, from because it's one thing to have a skill and you can be the best copywriter, the best web developer in the whole world. But if you're unable to actually run a business, you may not make a success of being a freelancer. So those are lessons I learned the hard way. I wrote the book so that perhaps people can avoid some of the mistakes I made when I first started out.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think this is so important because there's one thing monetizing your passion, but really taking that forward to being a business and all the nuts and bolts and maybe some of the less glamorous elements as well, but just so
Exactly.
important to make sure that everything's done correctly. And I think that that really comes across in your book as well. It's not just theoretical; it's really practical that any freelancer can pick up and basically run with from the moment they've got through the chapters.
Yes, that's the intent. It's your freelance friend that sits on your bookshelf. And perhaps if you're just starting out, you read it cover to cover. Perhaps if you've been in the business for a while, it's helpful to just refresh or pick up some new tidbits from different chapters and just keep it on your shelf as a handy go-to guide when you need it. And to be
Yeah.
honest, sometimes we all need, myself included, we all just need those little kick up the butt, a little reminder of why we're doing what we're doing and how we can do it better. Because
Yes.
your freelance business is always a work in progress. You've never clocked it or nailed it. There's
Definitely
always
not.
things you can do better in your
Yeah.
skill and in your business.
No, there really is. And I mean, how is it at the moment in South Africa? How is freelancing seen and how is it developing as a lifestyle and a work style choice for people of all ages?
Mm. So part of the reason I wrote the book was because, especially post the COVID pandemic, a lot of companies realized that the freelance economy is there and they need to leverage it and they don't need to have someone sitting with a bum in a seat in order to do a
Yeah.
job. In South Africa specifically, we have, I think it's one of, if not the highest unemployment rate in the world. So there's not a whole lot of opportunities out there. And I really believe that people, if they just given the knowledge, they can have the confidence to be able to become self-starters and become freelancers. And another huge opportunity is the ability to work for overseas companies. Now that we have connectivity across the world, we're able to
Right.
then earn in pounds, dollars, euros while living, a sort of cheaper lifestyle in South Africa. So there's huge
Right.
opportunities. I mean, freelancing, or I guess an informal economy, is nothing new in South
Right.
Africa and in Africa. For a long time, people have been selling goats on the side of the road, or
Right.
selling amaguinha, which is like donuts at the taxi rank, or there's a huge informal economy. So my hope and vision is for that informal economy to be given, firstly, the education, the skills, and then
Mm.
also the technology and connectivity to open the door to greater income potential and opportunities. I mean,
Yeah.
aside from freelancing, we've also seen a huge increase in the gig economy. So people working for Uber,
Yes.
um, doing, different cleaning services and that kind of thing. So
Mm.
there is at the moment still a couple of hindrances with accessibility to technology, but that is changing. Maybe
Yes.
slower than I would hope, but it is changing. And I think that's where those huge opportunities lie for people to upskill and access a new economy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is an interesting point that you raise here, Shea, as well, in terms of the development of the future of work. The fact that almost in sort of the US and particularly Northern Europe, there's a big focus on kind of this traditional role of the job, what it is to be a worker, and the 9 to 5, which is really reigns supreme in terms of the way of doing things. But I think it's interesting you raise the fact that in South Africa, on the African continent, there's much more of a sort of flexibility from the beginning, informal ways of working at different times, taking on different projects, different roles to be able to earn money in exchange for delivering a service. So it's maybe a more fertile environment for the things that we're seeing, and we have to sort of, if it's not learn, we have to unlearn the previous way of doing
Yes,
things.
yes. I mean, for probably the majority of South Africans and perhaps the majority of the continent are not going to work in an office from 9 to 5.
Okay.
There
Yeah.
just aren't that many jobs available, those kinds of jobs available. So people are various hustles. And it's not uncommon, as you say, to have more than one income stream.
Right.
But I think what is still lacking is, as I said, the access to technology, and then also the development of the business acumen and financial skills that will really enable people to take their business from survival mode into something that's a feasible and sustainable
Yeah.
business.
Yeah. Okay. So it's the next level. And
Mm.
moving on from that, what are some of the benefits of being a freelancer? This is personal from your perspective, Shay, but also what you see among sort of friends, colleagues, your network, but also maybe some of the downsides that people need to be aware of or be able to negotiate and navigate.
So for me, it's all in the name. Freelancing equals freedom.
Yeah.
And it's freedom at multiple aspects. So it's choosing your working hours,
Mm.
choosing the kind of work that you want to do, the clients you work for, the location that you work from. All of those freedoms is, to me, what makes this career worth fighting for.
Yeah.
On the flip side, are you actively using those freedoms? And I got to a point in my business where I realized I'm working like an employee. And this isn't why I became a freelancer.
Right.
I wasn't putting up boundaries and saying no to things that I didn't want to do. I was working traditional hours because I felt that I needed to be available for my clients during those hours.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't just meet a friend for coffee or take a day off. And on second thoughts, I came to a point where I realized this is not why I became a freelancer. I need to start structuring my business and putting boundaries in place and being disciplined with myself so that
Yeah.
I'm able to actually reap those rewards that I'm putting in the work for. So that's definitely a benefit, and also a negative element, that it's something that you have to be quite intentional about, actually.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
and then I suppose the second one I would say is income potential. As I said, with getting that first side hustle role that paid me more than my full-time role, it was mind-blowing to me. And since then, I've been able to tap into new income streams and manage to just create more income for myself than if I was getting the standard inflation-related increase every year. And you kind of
Yes.
stuck in that salary bracket. So I love that I'm able to do that.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then the flip side of that, one of the negative elements is income uncertainty. So you don't know exactly how much you're going to be getting each month or each year. And
Yeah.
you need to make sure that you have a steady pipeline of work coming in, and there's no guarantees. So I guess that would be another of the negative elements.
And there really is that sort of roller coaster of either feast or a famine in terms of activities. And sometimes it can just be that sort of waiting for payments to arrive as well. So you've got things
Yes.
stacked up. And I know that sort of traditional financial institutions like banks, they find it very, very difficult to give loans to freelancers or independent workers, because they look at the kind of income streams, which is very, very up and down, and they get very, very scared in terms of being able to take them on as clients and offer them loans for larger purchases.
And even I went to Europe last year and I had to get a Schengen visa.
Yeah.
And I had a stack of documents up this thick with client invoices, bank statements,
Okay.
affidavits, all kinds of documents I could think of to prove that even though I'm not a salaried employee,
Yeah.
I have a feasible income and I'm not going to stay there. I'm coming back to South Africa. But even that kind of thing, it can be quite prohibitive. And I think
Yeah.
that's where systems are maybe going to need to change, because freelancing is accelerating. I think I saw a stat that in the US by 2030, almost, could be wrong, about 70% of the workforce is going to be freelance or consultancy
Right.
based. So
Yeah.
I think those systems are going to need to accommodate us, and banks and all those kinds of institutions.
Yeah, fully agree, because as you say, there's a push from sort of the individuals who want to have more freedom and choice as to when, where, and how they work, but also organizations and companies. They also want this flexibility to be able to
Yes.
bring in the competencies they need when they need them, not just have someone on an open contract and try and find things for them. And it's much more efficient and much more productive. And I think that you're absolutely right when you say that sort of the traditional systems need to adapt and evolve and catch up with the new reality. I really can imagine your situation. They're just trying to get a visa, bringing all these sort of triplicate paper copies to be able
Honestly, I
to
had my grandfather's
prove.
fishing license. What else can I bring?
Exactly. I'm laughing because it's a common story I hear, but it's also just this frustration of, well, what can you do to be able to sort of make this easier? And I think there's a lot of people still don't understand freelancing. There's this mentality that you're doing this because you can't get a traditional job. You're not part of the 9 to 5, which of course is the absolute opposite. People are choosing to sort of move away from that because they have more opportunities, more flexibility that you've talked about, but also can earn more and actually learn more through this different model.
Yes, and create your own career path. So
Yeah.
instead of being dictated as to, okay, you might be good at your job, perhaps the next step is to get a promotion. Cool, but you may be a terrible manager.
Yes.
You may have a skill, but but that's sort of the next
Yeah.
step, and where to from there. And if you want to earn a little bit more, you have to get the promotion, but that means you have to become the manager. What I love about freelancing is I can take my career in any direction that I choose and keep
Yes.
learning along the way and pivot.
Mm. That's really strong. This ability to choose your own career as opposed to, it's so funny when I still speak to people who have the sort of the 6 monthly or annual performance review, and they kind of tick these boxes, tick these goals, and it's a very linear process. And there's very, very little room for creativity or
Mm.
being able to sort of create your own career or what that
Just
career looks
autonomy.
like.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's just so limiting, I think, for so many people as well these days.
And I think, not to bash it, because for some people that works, and for some
Yeah.
people that's what they want, and they need that security and that safety and that stability
Mm.
that's meaningful to them. But I think, and I just truly believe, there's a strong sect of people who feel the exact opposite.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what you say. It's not for everyone. It really isn't. I mean, I know people who freedom generally just scares them to death. They want sort of someone to be able to decide or to have
Structure.
the structure and the rules of the road to say this is what I'll be doing, and that gives them comfort and and some kind of support, which is absolutely fine. But I think it's creating the opportunities and realizing that everyone's different. One size doesn't fit all, and that kind of 9 to 5 lifestyle is not for everyone. I think if we're all going to be productive and able to contribute to the economy and society, it needs to be a bit more open to people like you and I and thousands more, and the growing number of people who have like different expectations and different ways that they can
Yes.
be can add value.
Yes, and the beauty is you can tailor it accordingly. So, I mean, even look at typical working hours. I'm terrible in the afternoons. So to get me to work from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., you're actually not getting the best out of me anyway.
Right.
So even in that's a minor example way of
Mm,
you can get the best out of people when they have more flexibility and autonomy to do
yeah.
what they do best at when it suits them.
Yeah. And you were saying before that digitalization is a key role in this. It's kind of facilitating a lot of these things and transforming the world of work and transforming society as well, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's what's given us freelancers the flexibility and the freedom and choice.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you think back, so pandemic had happened 20 years ago. I don't think I even had internet in my home 20 years ago. What would have happened? Because
Yes.
now we've got incredible access. You and I having this conversation.
Yes, we
I
are.
don't know if
Yeah.
this would have even happened 20 years ago because we probably would have never got in touch in the first place via LinkedIn. And
True.
so the
Yeah.
opportunities are tremendous, and digitalization is what makes it happen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
one thing that I question with all the benefits and boons brings is, where do we slow down? Because
Okay.
so now we have this amazing technology that can do the work for us, do the stuff that we don't really want to do, and yet we continue to fill our time. And I feel like the faster things get. No one's slowing down. Everyone's
Right.
accelerating. Deadlines are coming closer because
Yeah.
we are able to. And I feel like we're not making the best use of the machines. And this
Okay.
is myself included. So I'm wondering at what inflection point think we'll begin to realize, hey, let's just let them do the work. And we can kick back and focus on our human skills and our
Yes.
human connection and creativity and the stuff that really matters.
Mm.
I'm still waiting for that.
I think it is, and that the things that machines can do well that we do badly, but also what we can do well that machines maybe don't do as well.
Yes.
And I think it's that sort of symbiosis that we need to look towards, as opposed to just trying to replicate and do more. I like your mindset there, that it's, sort of to take a step back and actually think where is really important to spend those 24 hours. That it's the most democratic thing in the world is time. Everyone has 24 hours. It's just how they decide to spend to use it.
Which is one of the hardest things as a freelancer to do when no one's
Really.
actually telling you how to spend your time.
Yeah, no, it really is. And I'm also interested a little bit in the sort of the South Africa dynamic here, because here in Europe, particularly with and the US, there's a lot of talk about um, the destination marketing was a thing for tourists, but now sort of attracting digital nomads and open talent. And I can imagine with the climate, the beauty, and the affordable cost of living in lots of parts of South Africa, this could be more of a destination for sort of freelancers and freelance communities.
It's huge. And I've been so frustrated, and I keep following the news. It was announced in the 2022 president's address that the digital nomad visa was coming, and it
Right.
still hasn't materialized, I think, just due to basic
Yeah.
bureaucracy and other priorities. And it frustrates me no end because, as you say, it is the ideal location for digital nomads. There's so
Yeah.
much to see. It's affordable. I mean, it's a top tourist destination, so it makes it an excellent digital nomad
Yeah.
destination. And I'm just dying for this visa to actually become a reality. And I mean, it's such huge opportunity for the country to
It really
bring
is.
in that foreign income and investment and spending. It's huge. So
Yeah.
watch the space.
Yeah, watch this space. And I think that's also the thing. And also the time zones from a European perspective, it's,
Mm,
pretty much the same time zone. So you're not sort of,
mm,
if you're sort of client base or your partner base is in Europe, then you're in a very good situation regarding interactions as well. You don't have to be
Mm.
up in the middle of the night or early in the morning to be able to have the digital links and digital communications.
Yes, you make a good point. And even from the Americas, yes, it'll be crossover in the morning and afternoon. In Australasia, it'll be a crossover in afternoon, morning. So it's actually well positioned.
Yeah.
And especially, as you say, for Europe, I think now there's a 1 hour delay due to daylight savings, but in European summer on the same time zone as many locations.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Well, put me down for one of those
Oh,
visas.
I would happily tour guide and provide recommendations to anyone. I've got
That would be
plenty. So
fantastic. Well, being in the middle of a very dark, rainy Scandinavian early winter at the moment, it sounds very, very tempting. I can promise you.
no doubt.
Oh,
And I mean, that's also living a dream where you can just switch your summers, 6 months, 12 months of
yes.
summer.
Yes, on endless summer does sound very, very enticing, I've got to say. Well,
Mm.
Shea, this is fantastic. Thanks for all the work that you're doing for the freelancer community. Really great book that you put together, sort of these thoughts, learnings, and teachings within there. But also, really, let's get have your feedback very soon about what's happening in the evolution of the freelancing and the South Africa situation.
That would be great, Glenn. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. And we're out. Excellent, Shea. This was
Nice.
this is brilliant. This is great to have an overview of what you've been doing, some of your thoughts and ideas, but also that kind of the digital nomad piece as well, which is getting bigger and bigger. I mean, the work anywhere, folks that that I'm in contact with, their TikTok gets about sort of like 200,000 likes per post they're doing on these things,
Wow.
just looking about locations, and it just shows there's this real interest. And I think as more and more people are going from a thing, well, it will be nice to have, I'd like to be more flexible and free, but I can't really leave the 9 to 5 because, well, for hundreds of reasons.
Mm.
But I think there's more people that are actually getting a bit braver and saying, well, look, if I don't
Mm.
do it now, why can't I just sort of take that leap and see how it works out more than anything else?
Definitely. And I think something else that builds into that is people are getting married later or perhaps not getting married, or that
Yeah,
whole settle down culture
right.
is diminishing somewhat. So
Yes.
I think also from that perspective, people are like, well, why am I here? Let me go
Yes.
explore. It's
Yeah.
very aspirational.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it is. I think there's more people sort of like getting into that kind of mindset because they realize that, time is short and it's easy to put things off
Mm,
for a day, a week, a month, a year. And then, you're probably too old to properly enjoy it.
exactly. uh,
So I think there's
although who knows, we might live to 120.
oh, maybe. Oh my goodness me. I'm not too sure about
I
that.
don't know. Sounds like a lot of savings.
It sounds like a lot of savings. I've already,
Uh,
Shay, I've already sort of kind of resigned myself about, I think I'm going to keep working till the day I die. And that's why I think that was one of the big things as well, why I thought for me it was important to do something I enjoy and really stimulates me, because I don't sort of contemplate
yes,
retiring in a traditional sense.
exactly. You don't want to live for retirement, and you don't want to live for the weekends either. I mean, that's the
No.
bulk of your life you spend working.
Yeah.
So you may as well have a good time.
Yes, absolutely. Love the philosophies. And what's your plans? You're in South Africa probably for your summer, but it would be great to be able to sort of meet you down in South Africa or London, anywhere if you sort of Europe wide as well. It'd be fantastic to sort of catch up.
I would love that. No plans at the moment because
Yep.
actually, well, I've got a big plan. I've got a baby coming in April. So
Oh wow, that's something that gives
that
you a bit of
that
context and structure.
derails a few of the travel plans.
Oh, well,
I've gone into settle down
congratulations.
mode. Thank you.
That is fantastic. That is fantastic. Oh, so much joy in front of you. And I can tell you one thing: the positive far outweighs the negative of all the
I
things that
believe
come
it.
with it. So it's going to be
I
brilliant.
mean, we've been tricked to procreate, so there must be something to it.
I love it. That's fantastic. Great stuff. Anyway, well, you enjoy yourself, and
Thanks, Glenn. Catch up
take
soon.
care. And really enjoyed our discussion. So
Awesome.
I'll probably
And you'll
this will
send
probably
me a
go.
link when it's ready.
I will be. It probably the one
Okay.
after next. So we put the new episodes out every sort of 2 weeks. So probably the
Perfect.
one after this next one, which is coming up, which I'll be uploading over the weekend. But
Great.
I will give you a heads up on the Friday before the weekend when I post it, and then the following Monday I'll do the sort of the official sort of launch post, if you want to call it that.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, loving the podcast.
Good stuff. Excellent. Well, thanks for your time, and look forward to the continued conversations.
Yes. Okay. Cheers, Glenn.
Bye now.
Bye.